2 years ago, the world shook at Marineford. Yet the tremors never stopped. Protagonist. Ace should have died on that scaffold, but fate had other plans. Luffy had torn apart the world to save him, and then vanished without a trace. For 2 long years, Ace searched through storms, islands, prisons and rumors. No Sabo. No Rayleigh. No Straw Hats. No Luffy. Until one quiet day, a familiar ship appeared on a forgotten shore. The Thousand Sunny. But what Ace found inside wasn't just his brother. It was a gathering of monsters. The 11 supernovas all in one room. Led by Luffy. An alliance so bold, so impossible, the world refused to believe it. Until the newspapers confirmed the nightmare. The worst generation had united. The Marines panicked. The Yonko stirred. And Ace realized the truth. Luffy hadn't just trained for 2 years. He had returned to change the world itself. It had been 2 long years since the war at Marineford, yet the ache in Ace's chest had never truly dulled. The world thought he'd died there, executed by the Marines like his father before him, but fate had twisted its path. The son of the Pirate King, Protagonist, Ace, lived. Because a certain rubber idiot defied the impossible. That idiot was his brother, Monkey D. Luffy had shattered the world's expectations. He'd stormed Impel Down, broken into the most secure prison in the seas, and escaped with hundreds of dangerous criminals in tow. He had gathered a force of chaos, including a former warlord, revolutionaries, and unlikely allies. All to save Ace. And he had succeeded. Together with the Whitebeard pirates, Luffy had dragged Ace back from the execution platform. But when the war was over, when the fires of battle had dimmed, Luffy was gone. Vanished, like a ghost swallowed by the tide. Ace never saw him again. He wasn't the only one searching. The world demanded answers. The Marines hunted shadows. Pirates whispered rumors in dark taverns. But Luffy left no trail, no sightings, no messages. Only silence. Even Ace's attempts to find the truth were met with locked jaws and diverted eyes. Rayleigh disappeared. Jinbe dove into the sea before Ace could question him. And Boa Hancock, ever dramatic, had simply smiled and declared, "It was my beloved husband's wish. I cannot betray him." Then she vanished too. Ace knows that they knew something about his brother. For 2 years, Ace scoured the Grand Line. He chased whispers, questioned informants, even stared down Marines for any scrap of information. Nothing. No sign of the Straw Hat Pirates. No trace of his little brother. Until today. He hadn't planned to stop at this island in the New World. It was just another speck on the map. A quiet shore, a soft breeze, nothing unusual. Until he saw the ship. A bright, sunlit vessel docked at the beach, its lion-shaped figurehead practically beaming. The Thousand Sunny. Ace stopped in his tracks, heat rising in his chest. It couldn't be. He stepped forward slowly, the sound of the waves fading into a numb hush. He stared at the Jolly Roger flying above the ship, unmistakable in its design. The Straw Hat flag. It was them. The ship was eerily quiet. No shouting. No crashes. No singing. No chaos. And that silence unsettled him more than anything else. This wasn't right. Ace moved quickly, boots hitting the dock with heavy steps. He reached the ship just as 6 familiar faces turned in his direction, their expressions morphing from casual to stunned. "Ace." Nomi's voice cracked the stillness. "What are you doing here?" Usopp added, eyes wide. "Yahohoho, is this Ace-san?" Brook chimed in with a cheerful grin. Robin's dark gaze studied him. "The son of Gold. Roger. How fascinating." "Luffy bro Aniki?" Frankie gawked. "You were. When did you get here?" Chopper yelped, nearly falling over. Ace didn't answer them. His voice came out low and clipped. "Where's Luffy?" The shift was immediate. The air grew heavy. Every expression tensed. Ace's gaze narrowed. "Where is my brother?" The flames in his eyes ignited, raw, desperate, and unyielding. Ace, wait. Luffy's fine. He's inside," Nami stammered, gesturing toward the large door that led into the aquarium bar. But maybe don't go in just yet. He's, occupied. Ace's brow furrowed. Occupied. Before she could respond, a shout exploded from behind the door. For the last time, until when are you going to sleep, you idiot rubber? Ace froze. What the hell was that? Everyone let out a collective sigh. They're doing it again. Nami muttered, rubbing her temples. I wonder what's going on in there, Chopper said nervously. Who shouted this time? Usopp asked. Then he made a face. Oh right. It's probably her. She's the only woman in that group. Robin turned to Ace. It appears our guests have reached the end of their patience. Guests? Ace echoed. What guests? Sanji emerged from the kitchen, casually puffing a cigarette. The ones who barged in one by one and dragged our shitty captain, and that moss-headed idiot, into the aquarium bar. Who the hell are they? Robin smiled, enigmatic as always. You'd know them. By name, at least. Nami sighed in exasperation. You could just check the window on the door, you know. Without another word, Ace strode to the door and looked through the small glass pane. And his world tilted. He didn't blink. Didn't breathe. His body locked in place, eyes wide with disbelief. This couldn't be real. Yet there they were. Every single one of the 11 supernovas. In one room. Together. Inside, the aquarium bar buzzed with tension. A towering, tanned man with a heavy beard and wings stretched across his chair, scowling. Hey! How long are we supposed to wait? I'm bored. Capone Beach, his cigar glowing dimly, said nothing. He focused on his newspaper, sipping coffee like he hadn't a care in the world. Trafalgar Law leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a faint smirk on his lips. We wait until everyone's ready. Drake grunted beside him. And when will that be? A pink-haired woman, irritation radiating off her, pointed toward the couch. When that idiot wakes up. On the couch, Luffy snored loudly, a puddle of drool soaking into the cushion. Beside him, Zoro had dozed off again, a single eye barely open. Zoro! You just woke up 5 seconds ago, shouted Kid, his red hair bristling. You're supposed to wake him up, damn it. You're loud, Apu muttered. But seriously, how long are we going to wait? Zoro shrugged lazily. Why don't you do it yourself? Killer pinched the bridge of his nose. We have tried. Yelling, punching, kicking. It doesn't work. The idiot won't wake up. Mugiwara. Wake the hell up. Kid roared again, his voice echoing off the walls. Luffy groaned, shifted slightly, and kept sleeping. A vein pulsed in Kid's forehead. He stomped over and kicked Luffy's leg. Wake up, damn it. You stupid rubber brain. At the table, Hawkins calmly drew a card. There's a 45% chance he'll wake up. Zoro leaned over and muttered something directly into Luffy's ear. Luffy's eyes snapped open. Zoro, you jerk. Don't eat my meat. Zoro grunted. Shut up. People want to talk to you. Luffy blinked at the crowd, scanning the room with bleary eyes. He turned back to Zoro, frowning. When did all these people get here? Silence. Everyone face-faulted. It was Law who finally sighed. Now that he's awake, shall we begin? He looked directly at Luffy. Mugiwara. What do you say? We form an alliance. Luffy stared. Ha. Days later. Breaking news. Monkey D. Luffy has returned. An unprecedented alliance has formed between the captains of the 11 supernovas, Straw Hat, Kid, Hart, Bonnie, Hawkins, Drake, On Air, Firetank, and Monk Pirates. All were seen gathered aboard the Thousand Sunny in a heated strategic discussion. What are they planning? Beneath the headline, 11 bounty posters filled the front page. And in the eyes of the world, chaos was just beginning. Silence hung thick in the air of the aquarium bar, the only sound the quiet bubbling of the fish tanks surrounding them. Trafalgar Law had just finished speaking, laying out his plan in a level, logical tone that belied the magnitude of what he proposed. For a few long seconds, no one moved. No one spoke. They exchanged cautious glances, some skeptical, some thoughtful. But none were calm. It was Jewelry Bonnie who finally broke the silence. She shot Law a look that could peel paint from steel. "I've heard it before," she muttered, arms crossed, "but it still shocks me when you say it again out loud, Trafalgar." Law smirked. "Why? You don't agree?" "I didn't say that," she muttered. Law turned to the rest of the group. "What about the rest of you?" X-Drake was the first to speak. "I'll go along with it. But don't interfere with my objective. I have my own reasons." Hawkins casually drew a card from his deck, eyes unreadable. "The signs are favorable. A high chance of success. I will join." "The depraved monk pirates are in," Urage rumbled with a nod. Capone Beej, ever the cold observer, sipped his coffee and said, "I'll participate." Then he returned to his newspaper without further comment. Eustace Kidd leaned back in his chair with a sneer. "You're insane, Trafalgar. But this could be fun." A crooked smile curved his lips. "Kid pirates are in." Killer, silent as always, gave a brief nod in agreement. "Oi, don't leave me behind." Apu barked from his seat. "Count me in too." Bonnie sighed. "This better work, Trafalgar. If it doesn't, I'll have your head." Law's smirk didn't waver. "If we act together, everything will go smoothly." His eyes flicked toward the two who hadn't spoken. "Mujiwarrior, Roronoaya, what's your answer?" Zoro looked at his captain, who hadn't spoken a word in minutes. And that was strange. Luffy had a rare, serious expression on his face, brows furrowed, eyes shadowed in thought. His lips pressed together in concentration. Zoro blinked. "Wait. Luffy's thinking? Is the world ending?" "Oi, Luffy," Zoro said carefully. No response. Zoro exhaled and turned to Law. "Do you understand the stakes of what you're suggesting? This plan could put every one of us in danger. Especially our crew." "I know," Law replied calmly. "We all do." "Well, I'm not, sir." "I'm in." Zoro groaned. Luffy jumped to his feet with a grin so wide it could cut clouds. "It sound fun. Let's do it, Tereo." Law visibly flinched at the nickname. Zoro smacked a hand against his face. Of course. Only Luffy would call a suicidal alliance fun. The other supernovas blinked in surprise, several fighting off grins. The youngest captain in the room had just agreed without hesitation. "So, what now, Tereo?" Kid asked, clearly entertained by the nickname. Law ignored him. Instead, he pulled out a thick sheet of Vivre card paper and tore it into 8 smaller strips, scribbling numbers on each one. "This is the Heart Pirates' Den Mushy line. I suggest we all exchange contact information to keep communication open." One by one, the captains passed around their own Vivre cards. Except for Luffy, of course, who was far more interested in poking at the aquarium glass. Zoro do it for him. "So," Kid said, tucking the cards away, "we done?" Law nodded. "For now. We'll begin the first step of the operation in a few days. Use the time to prepare." Chairs scraped against the floor as the supernovas stood, gathering belongings. Some stretched. Others exchanged brief words. Luffy flopped back into his seat and sighed. "Eh? You guys are leaving already?" He whined. "Let's have some fun before you go." Boom. The entire ship jolted as a distant explosion echoed across the sea. A voice rang out from the main deck. "Everyone. Code blue and white." Outside the aquarium bar. Reuniting with someone you love should be a moment of joy. But for Ace, every second waiting was agonizing. Leaning against the wall of the Thousand Sunny, arms crossed, he stared out to sea, jaw clenched tight. His brother, his little brother, was currently locked in a private meeting with 10 of the most dangerous captains in the New World. Why the 11 supernovas had chosen this place and this time to hold their meeting, Ace didn't know. He didn't like it. Yes, Luffy was strong. Ace knew that better than anyone. But strength didn't shield you from betrayal. or traps, or politics. These pirates weren't saints. Most of them were infamous for good reason. The others on board had reassured him, told him Luffy was fine, that they trusted him. Ace didn't understand how they could be so calm, until he looked closer. They weren't. Each of them was occupied with something, repairing sails, cleaning weapons, eating lunch, but their eyes constantly flicked toward the aquarium bar. Every movement was measured, tense. Every sound from the ship made them twitch. They were ready to fight at a moment's notice. So this is Luffy's crew. Ace's eyes swept over the Sunny's crew again, still amazed. A navigator with sticky fingers, a long-nosed sniper, a reindeer doctor, a cyborg carpenter, a perverted cook, a demonic archaeologist, and a singing skeleton. What kind of people was Luffy recruiting? He couldn't help smiling. The same kind of people who would risk everything for their captain. His thoughts were interrupted as the door to the aquarium bar slammed open and Sanji stepped out, kicking it with more irritation than necessary. The cook's narrowed eyes scanned the sea. Ace opened his mouth to ask what happened, then he felt it. A shift in the air. A pulse of danger. Something was coming. 2 massive cannonballs soared toward the ship. Sanji didn't hesitate. With one fluid motion, he launched himself forward and kicked them out of the air. One exploded midair, the other splashing harmlessly into the sea. "TCH. They found us already," he muttered. From the crow's nest, Usopp's voice rang out. "Minna. Code blue and white." The meaning was clear. Marine ships. The door to the aquarium bar burst open, and the supernovas poured out. They took one look at the sea and moved into action. They ignored the looks from the Sunny's crew, and Ace, still standing stunned, as they prepared for battle. But Zoro stepped in front of them, swords in hand. "Let us handle this," he said calmly, nodding to his captain. Luffy returned the nod. "Usopp," he shouted. 5 ships incoming." Luffy grinned. "Shishishi. That's not so many. Frankie." "Ready. And we've got 100 barrels of cola stored in the hold." "Perfect. On 3, 2, 1. Fire." The Thousand Sunny roared to life. The lion-headed ship's mouth opened wide, revealing a weapon unlike anything the visitors had seen before. A blinding beam of energy erupted from the cannon's maw, slicing across the sea. 5 marine ships were obliterated in seconds. Ace's jaw dropped. The supernovas flinched in awe. The power wasn't from a devil fruit. It was pure engineering. "Whoa." Ace breathed. "You built that?" "You're full of surprises, Mugiwara," Law said with a half-smile. Luffy laughed. "Shishishi. Right? Frankie's amazing." Bonnie folded her arms. "Only your crew would have something that ridiculous." Kid snorted. "Enough talking. We need to move before they send reinforcements." Killer turned to Nami. "Navigator-san, drop the illusion." Nami sighed, pulled out her Climatact, and spun it with a flourish. "Mirage, cancelled." Ace turned at the sound. His breath caught. From thin air, 9 ships emerged, each one flying a different pirate flag. Famous flags. Infamous ones. The ships of the 11 supernovas. He watched in silence as they began to disembark. "Hey, Law." Everyone paused. Luffy's voice had dropped. No longer the cheerful tone they were used to. It was low, calm, and heavy. Those closest to him swore they saw his eyes flash with something. Something sharp and ancient. A warning. Conqueror's Hokage, several of them thought at once. "That plan of yours." Luffy said slowly, "I'll go along with it. But if it puts my nakama in danger, I won't forgive you." The unspoken "or else" lingered in the air. Law met his gaze and gave a curt nod. No more words were exchanged. One by one, the ships peeled away from the Thousand Sunny and disappeared into the sea, swallowed by horizon and mist. When the last one vanished, Luffy finally turned. His grin returned, bright and familiar. "Shishishi Haya Ace. What are you doing here?" The sea calmed as the last echoes of cannon fire faded into the wind. Smoke curled upward from the scorched water where 5 marine ships had once stood. The Thousand Sunny bobbed peacefully, its vibrant lion figurehead grinning as if mocking the chaos that had just unfolded. And on the deck, Ace stood still, mouth parted slightly in disbelief. Shishishi. Hiya, Ace. Luffy grinned, bouncing on the balls of his feet like this was any normal afternoon. What are you doing here? Ace couldn't speak, couldn't move. Not until the ache in his chest exploded into motion. Luffy. He crossed the distance in 3 long strides, wrapping his arms around his little brother and pulling him in with so much force Luffy's feet left the deck. Guh, Ace, that's too tight. Luffy wheezed, flailing. Can't breathe. Good. Ace snarled, voice hoarse. You don't get to disappear for 2 years and then pretend it's fine. Luffy laughed, wheezing. I was busy training. For meat and freedom. That's not. Ace stopped himself, face tightening. God, you're really here. He pulled back just enough to look his brother in the face. Luffy looked different. Taller, 4'1". His shoulders were broader. His jaw more defined. But it was the way he stood, relaxed but firm. Calm in a way Ace had never seen before. And then there was the scar. That massive, brutal X carved into his chest. Ace's smile cracked. That happened after I? Luffy glanced down, then shrugged. It's okay. It reminds me why I want to get stronger. Ace looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he muttered idiot and rubbed a hand over his eyes, as if willing the sting to go away. The rest of the Straw Hat crew stood nearby, giving the brothers space. Nami was grinning quietly. Usopp had tears welling in his eyes. Zoro leaned on the rail, arms crossed. Sanji lit a cigarette with a faint smile. Chopper sniffled and wiped his nose. It had been a long time coming. Then Luffy turned around, beaming. Oh, hey. Ace, you haven't met everyone yet. Ace blinked, looking at the rest of the crew. You already know Zoro, Sanji, Chopper, Usopp, and Nami from Alabasta, right? Ace nodded. Yeah. And it's good to see you all again. You look stronger. We are stronger, Nami smirked. Not that we had much choice. I gained 5 new attacks. Usopp declared, striking a pose. Zoro shrugged. We survived training hell. That's good enough. You trained. Ace raised an eyebrow. Luffy trained. I did. Luffy grinned proudly. I trained super hard. He's not lying, Sanji added. We all got pushed to our limits. You especially, Zoro muttered to Luffy, who laughed. Then Luffy waved toward the back of the ship. Come meet the others. 3 figures stepped forward, each with a different aura. Luffy pointed to the tall, elegant woman with raven black hair and a calm, observant gaze. This is Nico Robin. She's our archaeologist and knows all kinds of cool ancient stuff. Robin bowed slightly. Portgas D. Ace. A pleasure. I've read about you. You have. Ace frowned. Where? Government records. And some of your father's legacy. She smiled faintly. You're a very interesting man. Ace scratched his head. You too, apparently. Then Luffy clapped a hand on the shoulder of a broad, square-nosed man with a Hawaiian shirt and a mechanical arm. This is Frankie. He built this ship, Thousand Sunny. And he's super loud. Yo. Frankie bellowed, striking a dramatic pose. Nice to meet you, Fire Fist Ace. I'm the super shipwright of this super crew. Ace blinked. You built the Sunny? The whole ship? Every bolt and beam. Frankie puffed with pride. Made from atom wood, powered by cola, and strong enough to survive New World madness. I saw what your cannon did to those Marines, Ace said slowly. I thought that was a devil fruit. Frankie smirked. Just good old super engineering, baby. Remind me never to piss you off. And lastly, Luffy turned to the tall, skeletal figure approaching from the other side of the deck, violin in hand. This is Brook. He's our musician and also, a skeleton. Yo-ho-ho-ho. Brook laughed. Indeed. I am quite the sight, am I not? May I see your underwear? Ace stared. There was silence. He does that a lot, Chopper whispered. Brook bowed elegantly. Soul King Brook, at your service. Wait, you're the guy on the posters? The rock musician. Ace gawked. Luffy recruited a celebrity? He also died and came back, Luffy added cheerfully. I had a devil fruit, Brook explained. The revive fruit. Ace blinked. You know what? Sure. That tracks. Soon after, the crew gathered around the deck to eat. Sanji had prepared enough food to make a Sea King weep, and Luffy wasted no time demolishing a mountain of meat. The laughter and chaos around the table were warm, chaotic, and familiar. Ace sat beside his brother, finally feeling something he hadn't in a long time, peace. But it didn't last. Ace. Luffy said, mouth full. You okay? You tell me, Ace muttered, setting his cup down. What the hell was that meeting earlier? Luffy blinked. What meeting? The one with 10 supernovas on your ship, Ace said sharply. You're grinning like it's a birthday party while some of the most dangerous pirates in the New World are having tea with you. Luffy gave a blank smile. We were just catching up. Luffy. Talking about fish migration. Luffy. Trading cooking tips? Ace grabbed his shoulder. Are you forming an alliance with them? Luffy's grin faltered. I can't say. Can't or won't. Luffy's voice softened. Does it matter? Yes, it does. Ace snapped. You've got something big brewing, and you're not telling me. The laughter and chaos around the table were warm, chaotic, and familiar. Ace sat beside his brother, finally feeling something he hadn't in a long time, peace. I've been worried sick about you since Marineford. Now I find you surrounded by pirate captains planning who knows what behind closed doors. Luffy looked him in the eye. I can't tell you, Ace, he said calmly. Not yet. Ace stared. Why? Because I don't want to drag you into it. Not unless you choose to walk in. Ace's hands clenched. You're my brother. I'd walk through fire for you. I know, Luffy said, smiling again. That's why I won't ask. And for the first time, Ace didn't have a reply. Because Luffy's voice wasn't childish. It wasn't rebellious. It was Captain's tone. And it scared him a little. That night, as the ship drifted peacefully under the stars, Ace stood on the observation deck, looking up at the moonlit sky. Below, he could hear the laughter of the crew, the sound of Brook's violin, the clatter of dishes and happy chaos. The crew had grown. They'd changed. And so had Luffy. He wasn't just the little brother anymore. He was someone the world would have to watch carefully. Because when Luffy moved, he wouldn't move alone. Ships left quietly, one by one. The Heart Pirates, the Kid Pirates, Bonnie, Beej and the rest. All splitting in different directions, some cloaked in fog, others using mirage tempo or submerging. The Thousand Sunny lingered, her crew watching the horizon as the alliance faded from sight. Luffy stood at the helm, wind tugging at his coat. Ace, he said suddenly, glancing sideways. You still with us? Ace, who leaned against the mast, crossed his arms. Did you think I'd let you out of my sight after all that? Luffy grinned. Shishishi. Just checking. As the Sunny set course toward their next destination, the sky above them burned with morning light, and the world they knew braced for what came next. End of flashback. Change POV. The silence in Mary Geos was heavy, unnatural. Not even the usual chatter of overdressed celestial dragons could cut through it. The Council of Five Elders stood before a den mushy, the air in the gilded chamber tense with tightly coiled dread. What did you just say? One of the elders asked, voice like a blade dragged over stone. The marine officer on the other end hesitated. Sir, we've confirmed it from multiple agents. Cypher Pole reported it first, followed by marine scouts in the New World. A pause. Then, the 11 supernovas have met on the Thousand Sunny. At Straw Hat Luffy's invitation, our latest intelligence suggests an alliance has formed. A breathless silence followed. Then one elder spoke with steel in his voice. Impossible. That many wild dogs wouldn't willingly share territory. They have, came the reply. The Heart, Kid, Hawkins, Drake, Bonnie, Firetank, On Air, Depraved Monk, and even Apur. All were present. And Straw Hat? Another elder asked sharply. The officer hesitated again. He led the meeting. The room fell deathly quiet. Then the head elder, bald with a katana resting at his side, stood straighter. We should have eliminated him at Eni's lobby, letting him walk away from Sabaody, and then Marineford. That was our mistake. Then what do you propose? The first elder looked out the window, watching the sacred city gleam beneath the sunlight. We correct our mistake. Publicly. Marine HQ, New Marineford. Fleet Admiral Sakazuki's fist slammed into the desk, shattering the thick wood and sending papers flying. That damn brat again? Vice Admiral Tsuru, ever composed, only sighed as she sipped tea in the wreckage of the meeting room. It was only a matter of time. Behind her, Admiral Kizaru tilted his head lazily. Oh, how scary. 11 supernovas playing Pirate King. What a shiny mess. Do not joke, Borsellino. Akainu barked. You saw what one brat could do 2 years ago. Now there's 11 of them. Tsuru set her teacup down. We must get ahead of this before panic spreads. The people will want answers. The underworld will want to join them. The Yonko will start watching. Akainu's eyes burned. Then let's give them a reason to stay in line. World newspaper, front page headline. The Devil's Alliance. All 11 supernovas, united under Straw Hat Luffy. The worst generation declares war by association. Read inside for shocking bounty updates. Updated bounties released. Monkey D. Luffy, 1.8 billion berries. Leader of the alliance. Instigator. Survived Marineford and Impel Down incident. Wielder of Conqueror's Hockey. Eustace Kid, 1.5 billion berries. Known for mass civilian casualties and destruction of marine outposts. Trafalgar D. Water Law, 1.5 billion berries. Former warlord. Surgeon of Death. Now fully rogue. X-Drake, undisclosed. Status, classified. Currently under review. Basil Hawkins, 800 million berries. Prediction-based threat. Has evaded capture repeatedly. Scratchman Apur, 720 million berries. Ability unknown, sound-based. Confirmed in alliance. Capone Beach, 650 million berries. Underworld links. Castle Fruit. Declared enemy of the world government. Jewelry Bonnie, 600 million berries. Interest to the celestial dragons. Status changed to kill on sight. Urage, 550 million berries. Strength class unknown. Dangerous unpredictability. Killer, 560 million berries. Noted second to Eustace Kid. Homicidal record confirmed. Roronoa Zoro, 1.32 billion berries. First mate of Straw Hat. Confirmed cock user. Direct threat. Elsewhere, East Blue, Fuchsia Village Windmill Bar. Garp crushed the newspaper in one hand, brow twitching, lips curling downward in a grimace. This brat. He stared at Luffy's grinning face plastered across the page. Makino wiped a glass behind the counter. You look proud. I'm not. Garp barked. You're smiling, she pointed out. Garp glared down at the paper again. He formed an alliance. 11 captains. He even beat me to it. Makino blinked. What? Garp grumbled into his drink. I tried to get Sengoku to approve one between Ace, Luffy, and Sabo years ago. Called it the Brotherhood Accord. Said it was too sentimental. Look at this now. Komabaka Kingdom, Revolutionary HQ. The newspaper landed on the war table, scattered among blueprints, alerts, and coded missives. Monkey D. Dragon stared down at his son's face. It started. Ivankov leaned over his shoulder, eyes wide. Strachon really knows how to make an entrance, huh? This isn't just an alliance of chaos, Dragon muttered. It's a network. An army. A shadow war declaration. He glanced at the map, at the pins that tracked Yonko movement and government weapons. They're becoming the storm before the fall. Somewhere on the Grand Line, Sabo leaned on the railing, eyes on the distant clouds as Koala approached. You saw it. She held up the paper, flipping it around to reveal the headline. Your little brother's making headlines again. He smiled faintly. It was only a matter of time. Are you going to tell Ace? Sabo's expression shifted, guilt, affection, sorrow. No, not yet. You already met Luffy during his training, didn't you? Sabo nodded slowly. He wasn't ready to see us then. Still healing. But now. His eyes shone. Now he's moving. Leading. Koala sat beside him. You think it'll work? 11 of the most chaotic pirates on one side. Sabo laughed, soft and distant. If anyone can turn chaos into hope, it's Luffy. He paused. But we should start preparing too. The world's about to change. Interlude, ashes between us. Back to Sunny. The stars blinked gently above the Thousand Sunny, casting silver shadows across the deck. Most of the crew had turned in for the night, and only the steady hush of the waves remained. Luffy sat alone by the edge of the deck, hat off, his back against the lion's main figurehead. His eyes were on the sky, but his mind was far elsewhere. He heard the footsteps before he saw them. Still awake? Ace asked quietly. Luffy didn't turn. Couldn't sleep. Me neither. Ace settled beside him with a quiet grunt, resting his forearms on his knees. Silence stretched between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. For a while, they just listened to the sea. Then Luffy spoke, voice low. I thought I lost everything back then. Ace turned his head slightly. In Marineford, Luffy continued, when I couldn't save you and everything fell apart, I thought it was over. I didn't want to live anymore. Ace inhaled slowly, guilt flickering in his expression. Luffy. I trained, Luffy went on, not looking at him. I got stronger. I thought about what I wanted to protect, who I wanted to become. But there was this big hole. Like part of me was still missing. Ace swallowed hard. Luffy looked down at his hands. And then, one day, that missing part came back. Ace blinked. What do you mean? Luffy hesitated. His fingers curled slightly. He wanted to say it. He wanted to tell Ace everything. About that distant island. About the day a blonde man with goggles landed beside him, trembling with emotion, and said, Luffy, it's me. Sabo. Alive. The brother they both thought they'd lost. But Luffy's breath caught in his throat. The weight of that truth lingered just behind his tongue, aching to be released. And yet, he didn't. Not yet. Because Ace was still processing everything. Marineford, the Alliance, the New World. Throwing Sabo into the mix now would break him. So Luffy forced a grin, scratching the back of his head. I realized I had more people than I thought. My crew. My friends. You. That's enough for me. Ace watched him closely. The words were right. But something in Luffy's eyes was off, too careful, too measured. Still, he didn't press. Yeah, Ace said softly, leaning back and closing his eyes. You've got a good crew, Luffy. Luffy smiled, gaze drifting back to the sky. I know. Far below, in the dark pocket of his coat, Luffy's hand brushed against a small hidden piece of Vivre card, its edges slightly burned but pulsing faintly with life. He clutched it for just a second. Not yet, Sabo. Not yet. The newspaper hit the deck like a cannonball. There was a moment of silence aboard the Thousand Sunny as the crew and their guest stared down at the front page. Luffy's wide grin splashed in black ink, his bounty numbers printed like a brand across the world. 1.8 billion berries. Ace's hand was clenched so tight the paper crackled in his grasp. He had read the article twice. The words refused to change. Luffy, his little brother, had just become one of the most wanted men in the world. Luffy, Ace said at last, voice low and taut. What the hell is this? Luffy blinked from where he was crouched on the lion-shaped figurehead, picking at a meat bone. Oh, that's new. He tilted his head. Cool. Cool? Ace's voice rose, a rare snap in his usual calm. You've declared war on the world government by accidentally forming a super alliance, and you think that's cool? Luffy shrugged. We didn't declare war. We just decided to be friends and help each other. Luffy, Nami said, stepping forward with the paper now in her hands. They printed everyone's bounties. Zoro's jumped past 1 billion. Robin, mine, even Chopper's gone up. Mine too. Chopper squeaked in horror. They called it a shadow war, Robin murmured, scanning the text with sharp eyes. They're expecting us to act. This is a preemptive threat. Frankie whistled. Man. It's been a while since the world got this freaked out by us. Feels nostalgic. Yo-ho-ho-ho. Brooke cackled. We've got that rockstar energy again, huh? Shut up, skeleton. Sanji snapped. This isn't a concert. But Ace wasn't smiling. He stepped forward, grabbing Luffy by the wrist, his grip tight but not painful. Tell me the truth. This isn't just a friendship meeting, is it? Luffy's eyes, calm, unwavering, met his brother's. I can't tell you everything. You're hiding something, Ace hissed. Again. It's not because I don't trust you, Luffy said quietly. It's because this is something I have to carry. If I tell you everything, you'll try to stop me. You'll try to protect me. Of course I will. Luffy gave a soft, sad smile. That's the problem. The words stung. Ace stepped back, hand falling. There was silence. Zoro's voice cut through it. He's changed, Ace. Everyone turned to him. Zoro leaned against the mast, arms crossed. 2 years ago, we weren't ready. We thought we were. But Marineford proved how far we had to go. Luffy made us stronger. But he didn't just train his body. He grew into the captain we needed. He still acts like a moron, Sanji added, exhaling smoke. But he's not blind anymore. Robin smiled faintly. He sees further than most now. Even if he pretends he doesn't. Luffy laughed, scratching his head. You guys are embarrassing me. You deserve it, Nami said, surprisingly gently. Ace was still frowning. And this alliance? Luffy stood now, serious once more. We're not attacking anyone. Not yet. But if the world government wants a war, we'll survive it. Together. The simplicity of his words carried more weight than any battle cry. Ace looked at him a long moment. Then, reluctantly, he let out a sigh. Fine. I'll let you do this your way. But if you get in over your head, I'll call you, Luffy promised. Ace ruffled his hair, then winced as Luffy bit his hand in retaliation. Oi. Still biting. You messed up my hair. You don't even comb it. Elsewhere, on the Heart Pirates submarine, Trafalgar Law folded the newspaper and tossed it aside, his face unreadable. So it's out, he muttered. Beepo looked up from his fishbowl. Captain, does this mean we're going to be attacked? Probably, Law replied calmly. We've just become priority targets for every bounty hunter, marine battalion, and informant on the sea. Shochi snorted. Should we be worried? No. Law's fingers tapped the table. We've already planned for this. Still, he felt the shift. This wasn't a stealth operation anymore. This was open rebellion. Aboard the Victoria Punk Kid pirates. Killer whistled as he stared at the new bounty list. Looks like we're finally being treated as the threats we are. Kid grinned, eyes wild with anticipation. Took them long enough. You don't care we're now marked enemies of the world? I care that Luffy finally pulled the pin, Kid said, teeth bared in a grin. Now we get to see how much they really fear us. On Onigashima, the domain of Kaido, thunder cracked across the skull-shaped island as a torrential storm beat down on the mountains. But inside Kaido's great hall, it wasn't the weather that stirred unease, it was the news now crumpled in his massive fist. They did what? His voice boomed like cannon fire. The very stone beneath him trembled. The commanders of the beast pirates kept their distance. King stood silent, unreadable as ever. Queen whistled nervously, glancing toward the pile of broken sake barrels at Kaido's feet. The supernovas, Kaido snarled, slamming the paper onto the floor. They've united under Straw Hat? Seems so, King replied evenly. Confirmed by Cipher Pole and Marine Intelligence. Worst Generation is no longer a scattered threat. They're acting in coordination, possibly even preparing for an assault. Kaido threw back his head and laughed. It was a guttural, wild sound, echoing through the stone walls like a beast howling in delight. So the brat wants to become a real player, huh? His grin was full of teeth. Good. Let him come. I've waited long enough. He stood suddenly, the air around him thick with killing intent. Prepare everything. If those upstarts want to dance with emperors, I'll crush their alliance myself. Boss, Queen interjected, you sure we shouldn't? Kaido's glare silenced him. They think they're strong enough to defy the balance? Let's remind them what it means to rule the sea. Whole Cake Island, Toto Land. Mama mama. The sing-song laughter of Big Mom was anything but cheerful. In the shimmering candy palace, the Charlotte family had gathered in a rare moment of stillness, all eyes turned toward their mother. At her side, Katakuri stood with folded arms, eyes focused on the bounty list in silence. So my little Linlin heard right, huh? Big Mom hummed, swirling her teacup. Luffy-kuan's gotten quite bold. Forming an alliance with the rest of those brats. Do you want us to move against them? Smoothie asked, hand resting on her sword. Big Mom leaned back, smile curling wickedly. No, not yet. Let them believe they have strength. Let them believe they can stand shoulder to shoulder with the emperors. She set the cup down. It shattered under her fingers. And when they come for the throne. Her voice dipped into something darker, more feral. I'll devour every last one. Katakuri's mouth twitched, but he said nothing. In the future he glimpsed, there were many possibilities, but all of them burned with fire. Luffy's fire. Wano, unknown location. In the ruins of a sunlit village deep in the forests of Wano, a figure stood alone with a faint smile. He held the paper gently, almost reverently. So you've made your move, Luffy. The man's red hair caught the light as he turned. Shanks. A breeze tugged at his red coat. Finally. Evening, back on the sunny. The day faded into golden light. Luffy sat cross-legged on the top of the figurehead, legs swinging over the edge. Ace joined him quietly, sitting beside him with his knees pulled up. They didn't speak for a while. Eventually Ace said, "You're not that scrawny little brother anymore." Luffy smiled. "And you're not dead. So I guess we both changed." Ace chuckled, eyes misting over. "You're the worst. I'm the captain. Still the worst." Luffy bumped his shoulder. "You sticking around?" "For a while. Until I'm sure you're not about to set the world on fire." Luffy grinned. "No promises." Kurigana Island, Mihawk's domain. The sword sliced cleanly through the air, the vibration humming through the rocks below. Dracul Mihawk sheathed Yoru with a sigh as a dark-feathered messenger bat dropped a rolled-up paper at his feet. He unrolled it slowly, glancing at the faces of the 11 captains spread across the bounty section. His eyes lingered briefly on one name, Monkey D. Luffy. "So it begins," he murmured. From the castle, Perona called out lazily, "More war again? Are you going to get involved?" "No," Mihawk answered, folding the paper. "Not yet." He walked back toward the castle, boots crunching on gravel. "But the world is tilting. And when swords begin to cross again, mine won't stay sheathed." Amazon Lily, Kuja Island. "I'm so proud of him." Boa Hancock clutched the newspaper to her chest, hearts fluttering in her eyes. The bounty poster of Luffy made her visibly swoon. Behind her, the Kuja warriors stood frozen, half concerned, half resigned. "Pirate Empress, please," one of her generals begged. "He's taken over the worst generation," Hancock proclaimed dramatically. "He's so daring, so bold. Lady Hancock, won't this alliance bring chaos?" "Let the world burn," she shouted, her voice full of rose petals. "I shall only kneel for Luffy." Moby Dick Whitebeard's silence aboard the great ship, tension brewed. "Still no word from Ace?" Marco asked, frowning. "Not since he left 3 islands ago," Jozu replied. "Wasn't he supposed to check on something small?" Thatch muttered. "This long without contact is weird." Whitebeard sat silently in his throne, arms crossed, a massive sake bowl untouched at his side. The bounty poster of Luffy made her visibly swoon. The commander held a copy of the newspaper in one hand, his sharp eyes scanning the front page. The alliance of the worst generation. At the center of the photo, laughing as if he hadn't a care in the world, was Monkey D. Luffy. "Humph." Whitebeard's expression was unreadable. He leaned back. "Still no sign of Ace?" "None," Marco said. "But he wouldn't vanish without reason." Whitebeard's lips curled into a faint smile. "Or he found his brother." The commanders blinked. "Wait, what?" "And maybe forgot to tell us," the Yonko muttered with a sigh. "The crown that wasn't chosen." News across the sea. The ink was still fresh when the World Economic Journal hit the skies. News coups flapped across the new world, delivering explosive headlines that shook the balance of the pirate world. Breaking: supernovas form alliance. Monkey D. Luffy declared leader of the worst generation. The photo beneath showed a laughing Luffy standing at the front of the Thousand Sunny, arms crossed in front of the other supernova captains. To the press, it looked like he was commanding them. The world took it as fact. But the supernovas themselves? Not quite. Eustace Kid, the Victoria punk. Crack. A wrench snapped in half under Kid's grip. Sparks flew. "He's not the leader." Killer, ever calm, peered at the newspaper again. "Technically, he was in front. That's what the photo shows." "That's just bad camera angles. That straw hat idiot was chewing meat during half the meeting." Wire flinched as Kid crushed another metal part with his bare hand. "We should sue the damn newspaper. They'll just print a correction." "No. I want a retraction, apology, and their editor's head mounted on my mast." Trafalgar Law, the polar tang. A heavy silence filled the submarine's control room as Law stood still, the paper clutched in his gloved hands. Monkey D. Luffy, the strategic mind behind the worst generation alliance. A twitch. Another. Strategic mind, Law repeated flatly. Shochi cleared his throat. "I mean, Captain, you were talking tactics, but he did say the final word. He said let's go," while pointing at a map of the sky. Penguin coughed into his fist. To be fair, it sounded decisive. Law's sword clinked as he leaned against it, shoulders stiff. "I'm finding that editor," he growled. Room. Everyone scattered. Jewelry Bonnie, the Bonnie Pirates. Bonnie spat a half-chewed chicken bone and slammed the paper on her table. "What do you mean he's the leader?" Her crew stared at her cautiously. "Well, he was smiling the most, Captain." "So?" "I smile when I beat Marines to a pulp. Doesn't make me a world leader." She grabbed a marker and began furiously drawing over the headline. "Bonnie, Queen of the Supernovas." There. Fixed. Basil Hawkins, the Hawkins Pirates. Hawkins barely looked up as he read the paper. The odds of this headline causing chaos: 87%. One of his crew, who had been passing by for a snack, paused. "But don't you care, Captain?" "No. Let fate guide its own joke." He laid out 3 tarot cards. Death. Tower. The Fool. "I rest my case." Capone Gang Beach Fire Tank Pirates. Beach's cigar fell from his mouth. Luffy. Leader. He didn't even know the difference between a log pose and a fork. Vito scratched his head. Boss, he was at the center of the table. That's because he was sitting on it. He raged, stomping around. I ran a mafia empire. Trafalgar has a fleet. Kids got enough firepower to sink an island. And somehow Rubber Brains gets called the ringleader. Gotti, they really did you dirty, boss. Damn right they did. Urage, the mad monk pirates. Urage smiled serenely. Praise be. Let the fool be king if that is the world's will. One of his crew nervously asked, So, you're okay with it, Captain? He will bear the weight of perception. We will bear the reality. They nodded slowly. Then Urage laughed, a deep, jolly sound. It'll be fun to watch when it falls apart. Scratchmen Apu on air pirates. Yo wyo wyo. What the hell? Apu spun in his DJ chair, paper in hand, veins bulging. This headline's fake news. I was the loudest one in the room. No, you were beatboxing mid-meeting, said one of his crew. That's called strategic ambience. He groaned, flopping over. Man, my rep's ruined. No one's gonna take me seriously now. Did they ever? Someone muttered. A shoe flew across the deck. Drake pirates. Drake looked up from the paper. His face remained stoic. So they made Luffy the leader. A crewman looked nervous. Captain, are we following orders now? I'm not taking orders from him. Or anyone. I have my own mission. He crumpled the newspaper and tossed it into the sea. Let the others play at power. I'll survive the game. Back on the sunny present time. Shishishi, I'm the leader? Luffy tilted his head as Robin handed him the article. I think the world just made that decision for you, she said with a sly smile. Does that mean I get a cool hat? You already have one, Frankie said, adjusting his shades. Let's focus, Captain. The others are probably flipping tables right now. They are, said Zoro dryly. Trust me. Shishishi. That's okay. We're all still nakama, right? Aboard the 1,000 sunny previous nights. The meeting was quiet under starlight. All captains had their orders. Their next target, Elbaf. Split and regroup, Law said. 2 weeks. Kid cracked his knuckles. Hope you're ready, Straw Hat. We're going all in. Luffy smiled. Yeah. By the way, Law added, if the Marines come gunning for our leader, we'll be pointing them your way. Shishishi, no problem. Idiot, Zoro muttered. As Ace watched the bounty posters flutter in the sea breeze, he finally understood the weight in Luffy's eyes. The calm conviction of a captain who no longer walked in anyone's shadow. The world now trembled because of him, because of the alliance he sparked, because of the storm he carried within. And though Ace's heart ached with fear and pride woven together, one thing was clear. Whatever came next, Marines, Yonko, the Elders, even the monsters of the New World, the worst generation would meet it head-on. And Luffy would stand at the front. Across the seas, alliances shifted, emperors stirred, and the world government braced for a war it never wanted to fight. From Mariehua to Wano, from Fuchsia village to the revolutionaries' hideouts, one message echoed like thunder. Straw Hat Luffy has moved. The boy who once sought adventure had become the spark of a global upheaval. Ace, sitting beside his brother under the fading sun, finally exhaled the breath he'd been holding for 2 years. Luffy was alive. Stronger. Smarter. Surrounded by allies who would burn the world for him. Their journey was no longer just about survival. It was about destiny. The worst generation had united, and the world would never be the same. Thank you for watching.